You ever walk into a home and feel it sizing you up? Like a living thing studying the way you breathe. That was exactly the tickle crawling down my spine when I pulled up to Claire's house.
You know you don't spend the night there when you feel like this about a place.
I was on a road and had driven for almost 8 hours and needed to stop somewhere to spend the night and continue my journey in the morning. I called Claire, who lives nearby. I hadn't seen her since college. She invited me over to spend the night. We spent some time chatting and drinking. Old stories, easy comfort. But inside those walls, there was something wrong, but I chalked it up to nostalgia. Even though the house was old, but Claire had it clean, and it was well maintained. I felt like the walls were measuring me. I even mentioned this to Claire. She laughed and said, "Old place, I know. But wait till you see the view at night." I didn't know what to make of that, and did not ask any further question, but there were too many. She laughed it off while I poured us glasses of drink. The room felt smaller with every sip, like the walls were inching closer, folding me into some secret they'd been waiting to share. Once we had our time and had enough of the conversation, she led me past a shabby couch and floral curtains that hadn't been touched since the 80s. Every step of ours echoed in the house. Claire showed me to the guest room. We passed a long hallway lined with old portraits. I asked, "Who are they?" to which she said, "They are the people who lived in this house." I thought this did not make sense and said, "Why would you hang their portraits?" To which she replied that she will explain in the morning. She waved me on. "Sleep well," she said, and left the door ajar. The room was cold. The wallpaper had curled at the edges, revealing black mold creeping behind it. A single window looked out over fog-veiled pines. On the far wall stood a tall, narrow mirror in a tarnished frame. I dropped my bag and rubbed my eyes. I felt exhausted and so climbed into bed with my back to that mirror. Halfway through the night, I woke to a soft thud. My heart slammed. I froze. In the pale moonlight, that mirror shimmered, like it had been painted on a surface of water. I felt the presence of someone right behind me, but I could not turn. The air pinched my throat, pressing down. My pulse roared in my ears. Then, light creak of floorboards outside the door.
Claire's footstep.
I thought so. I held my breath. The handle rattled. I swung my legs out of bed, stepped forward. There was no one in the room and the hallway was empty. The lamp was out. There was no sound except my footsteps. At the end of the hall, the front door lay slightly open, though I was sure that Claire had closed it earlier. I reached for the handle, but paused. I heard a slow scrape behind me. I dared a glance. Claire was standing there near the couch, as if she'd been there all along, watching me. Her smile was too wide. "I tried to keep you safe, but you saw it," she said. "What is wrong with you?" I yelled at her. She smiled and I stumbled back. I ran toward the door. I yanked the door open and bolted into the yard. Moonlight spilled across the overgrown lawn. I didn't wait to see more. I jumped into my car, locked the doors. As I peeled away, the driveway seemed endless, but I never went back. This forest wasn't whispering hello. It was dark and filled with hunger. We were on a hiking trip but got delayed and had to spend the night. We looked for a hotel, but since there was an event the next day, they were overly booked. Few with a room left were charging more, so we decided to spend the night in a camp. Our phones died hours ago. The nearest town was 20 miles back. We had no choice. We looked for a spot near the forest. It wasn't much, but an area filled with a gravel lot. Dead grass. Old picnic tables rotting away. A rusty axe leaned against the bulletin board, its blade nicked and dull. Jess, my friend who was traveling with me, said the axe was for cutting firewood.
You're not serious about camping here, right?
Fresh air and a campfire. It was not a perfect spot, but we had to spend the night somewhere. We set up our tent between two tall pine trees. Jess lit a cedar incense stick, said it would keep bad spirits away. I pulled the old lantern from my pack. When I lit it, it was not much and we needed more fire to get ourselves warm. We also set up a campfire and sat close to it, tossing in more wood. Each log cracked like a brittle bone. I joked about haunted woods, people dragged off by roots. Jess forced a laugh. Something deep in the trees groaned, slow and heavy. That wasn't the wind, Jess said. She was a bit afraid and we dare not look for the voice. It came from a distance, and so we crawled into the tent and zipped it shut. I unpacked my sleeping bag, then spotted a fresh pile of dirt on the floor. No animals make dirt like that under a tent. No footprints around it, either. I froze. Jess whispered, "What is it?" I didn't answer, but I just watched the mesh window. I pressed my face against the mesh. Outside, I saw a tall, thin figure standing still. Its shoulders sloped like broken branches. Then it swayed gently, like a tree in the wind, but without leaves. Jess grabbed my arm. I didn't move. If it hurt us, we'd never get away. We lay flat on our sleeping bags, too scared to even breathe. Every crack of a twig made us jump. The lanterns had already went out, leaving us in darkness. I felt the tent wall press in, like something was leaning too close.
This was a wrong place to spend the night.
Yes, indeed it was. Every second felt like a year that night. We stayed frozen until morning. First light slipped through the trees. I unzipped the tent and stepped outside. The gravel was wet and shiny, like spilled oil. I bent down and touched it. It was sticky, a mix of tree sap and something else I didn't want to think about. Jess was literally shivering out of fear. I saw footprints, long toes with claws, deeper than ours. We packed up in a hurry, but in silence. Around us, the forest looked normal. Birds singing, sunlight through the branches. But I couldn't forget those hollow and empty eyes. We drove back along the gravel path toward the road. We kept driving until the trees and the forest was out of sight. I was 13 years old when this happened. I had no sibling. It was just me and my parents. One day my cousin Ryan showed up with his parents, and they asked us to let him stay for the night, as they had to go outside the city due to some emergency. I was excited to see him after months, and it happened to be a weekend, so my parents allowed us to stay awake late. We had plenty of time to talk and play. He did not want to sleep either, but he seemed exhausted due to long travel, and so I felt that he needed to sleep. I waved him good night, and then I went downstairs to grab some water. My dad and mom had already gone to sleep by then. When I was downstairs, I heard it. Footsteps on the hardwood above. Slow, careful, like someone testing each board. I assumed it was Ryan, and so went back upstairs and heard a soft thud. I saw the room door was cracked open about 6 inches. I had just closed it. I opened it to get inside and saw someone standing in the dark. Head down, long hair, they were hiding their face. I called out Ryan's name, but it was not him. This was a grown man, standing in complete dark. They whispered my name, Sam, then slightly looked up. My blood ran cold. I stumbled back. Just then, Ryan's voice called from behind. I spun around. Ryan was coming back from the bathroom, but when I looked back, the room was empty, the figure was gone. I didn't step forward. I backed into the hallway, my heart pounding. My legs shook so hard, I could barely call out my dad when Ryan touched me from the back and asked what happened. I couldn't say anything and raced down the hall and grabbed Ryan so he does not go inside. I was able to get the courage to call out my dad. I was still trembling in fear. By the time my dad reached me, I was leaning against the wall, breathless. "Dad, there's someone in our room!" In seconds, Dad and Mom went up asking me and Ryan to stay. I was shivering in fear and explained everything to Ryan. My father searched the house and found no one inside, but my room's window open. It was winter and we had not opened it for months. Dad called the police. They searched the house The yard, even the attic, nothing. No trace of a stranger, no sign of forced entry. My dad searched the house to see if something was missing, but found nothing. Everything was as it should have been. Maybe they wouldn't even have believed me if they hadn't found the open window in my room. Ryan and me stayed on the couch the rest of the night. None of us dared to go back in the room, and we couldn't even sleep on the couch.
So whoever it was knew the house, maybe knew your room, but how'd they know your name?
He was clearly wearing something odd. Some kind of a mask, or maybe a long wig, but he knew my name. Maybe he was already there when me and my cousin were talking, and he heard Ryan calling me out by my name. But he looked really creepy. His face still haunts me. We had heard footsteps of multiple people running on the rooftop several times, but I was not prepared to face what happened that day. The hardest part of dropping my brother at the airport wasn't the goodbye. It was the drive home. That quiet car full of all the things we didn't say. The way my mother kept glancing at the empty passenger seat. The way my father gripped the steering wheel too tight. We knew we'd miss him badly. Our house has always had quirks. The rooftop footsteps, for one. Every few nights, like clockwork. As if someone were sprinting across the tiles. We were used to it, and it had been happening for years now. Whatever that was, it never harmed us.
Wait, so you never even tried to find the source?
We checked the rooftop several times, but found nothing and had learned to live with it. Back at home, my father went to bed early. Same as always. He was an early morning person. The rest of us lingered in the living room. My wife scrolled through flight updates. My mother rewrapped leftovers. Me, I was just there to provide my mother some kind of comfort and give her some company. Just past midnight, I decided to sleep. I stood up, opened the door to the hallway, and saw my father. He was walking into the storeroom. I called out to my mother, "Father is in the storeroom." She said, "Let me see if he's looking for something." It had been just a few seconds when she checked up, but the storeroom was empty. My mom thought I was joking with her when I swear that I just saw him. I saw him from his back turned to me. He walked inside the storeroom. Gray t-shirt, striped pajama pants, the same clothes he'd worn to bed. She immediately checked the bedroom, and there he was. My father, snoring in his bed. Gray t-shirt, striped pajama pants, same clothes, still warm from sleep. In that moment, I realized something. My father never closes doors softly. Never! But that night, the storeroom door didn't slam. It clicked, like it was being careful. The next day, in the morning, I asked my father if he woke up in the middle of the night and went into the storeroom to grab something. "No, you saw me go to my room." I never left the room until morning. After his response, I was sure I saw something out of usual.
So, what did you see in the hallway?
Something who looked like my father, at least from the backside. Something that knew that I would not chase and go after them to check up.
Before you vanish, hit like and subscribe, because the shadows grow stronger with every soul.